What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the Italian Stallion, here for another episode of Rebels with a Cause. And gonna have a quick show tonight. Two Pairs got another engagement tonight, which I'm really excited for. But we're gonna pack it all in an hour. Obviously, bring your comments, your thoughts on how the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight went. We'll talk about the sad Sunday, as I call it, for the Vols, and it just wasn't meant to be. We'll get into that. Talk a little Rebels soccer, Rebels baseball, also talk a little Rebels football. As you can see, we've been champs for 488 days and counting, so that'll be really fun. But I want us to all get loud and proud wherever you're watching, there in Mechanicsville or down Middlebrook Pike to West Hills, over to Westmoreland Estates, as well as Westmoreland Hills, over to the Bearden area, up to Sequoia, Rocky Hill, anywhere where you're at watching this live or recorded. Want to give a shout out for Rebels with a Cause, because remember, the cause don't stop when the clock hits zero. But without further ado, real quick, I just want to let everybody know that the views and opinions of this program are not affiliated with those of any other organization or of West High School. These are strictly Two Pair and the Italian Stallions' views on everything going on. Want to give a shout out to my gal, Kim Castle, over at King's Chamber. You'll get the royal treatment if you go over there. She'll take care of you with haircuts, beard trims, waxes for right now, and then pretty soon you'll be getting the manicures and pedicures, and have you a nice beverage while you're over there. She'll take care of you as she does with me every week. So check out King's Chamber, and also shout out to my boy Alex Thatcher, Knoxville Coffee Company, over there in the heart of Marble City off of Sutherland Avenue. Go give that brew a try, and it'll definitely get you going, no matter what time of day it is. So go check out what Mr. Alex Thatcher's brewing there. That all being said, it's time to bring on my co-host, the man that's going to be doing his thing here in about an hour and a half over at the Brickyard. So if you got nothing going on tonight, why don't you go over to the Brickyard and give him a shout and throw him some love over there, just like you do every week here on Rebels with a Cause. But it's my brother, Two Pair Tate, Mr. West 2003, and the voice of the Rebels himself. Let's bring him on right now, Mr. Two Pair Tate, Brian Tate.
What's up, man? What's going on?
Oh, not too much, bud. How was the weekend, man? We kind of took one on the chin on Sunday, unfortunately. So
My only problem with the game is, you mean to tell me we had a bad officiating game both times that we saw, and the identical scores?
yeah, and that many free throws. That many free throws both times.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you mean to tell me there's no 3-second calls? And Jonas Adu was a no-show. You only got 10 minutes out of the guy.
He was a complete non-factor for somebody that big. I mean, show some guts in that moment, man. I mean, you're there for the Final Four, man. I mean, what are we talking about here? You sell out.
Yeah, and then Santi Vescovi had Dick, and then the next game he wasn't a factor. But I think for him, as much as he given up, taking that load off of him not being as an effective scorer as he once was, because Dalton Connect is the best player. He's the best college basketball player in the country, and we saw it Sunday.
He almost took him to the Final Four on his back by himself, man.
He almost
did it.
If he's not a lottery pick, I kind of wonder about that NBA. If he's not a lottery pick, because this dude's the real deal, man. He's the real deal.
I'd find a spot for him on my team. I mean, the way he played defense, the way he sold out. I mean, Shane already bringing it, man. How can a 7'4" player only have one foul? I mean, I'm telling you, the way he hedges, the way he moves, his feet weren't set. He was definitely over the back. I can't answer that, Shane. I had a lot of problems with the officiating, and on a stage like that, why don't you just swallow the whistle? Would be my question. And the fact is that despite these calls, Tennessee was still in it at the end. I mean, you know, I love me some Zakai Ziegler two-pair, but he couldn't have picked a worse game to not have his shot go down, man. Because even if he gives you his average, they're in the Final Four against NC State.
A team that they already beat.
Yeah.
Here's the funny thing. Tennessee has 3 wins over the Final Four teams. Now, I'm gonna say this. UConn is the best team in college basketball.
They are.
UConn is great. Alabama, who would have thunk it? They see the same team that beat them earlier in 2023. You avenge that loss to go to the Final Four. And that's another team Tennessee swept.
Yep.
Swept. They swept a Final Four team. They beat an NC State team. And they get swept by Purdue. And if you look at the contrast of fouls, the foul shooting, my thing is this. In what world does Zach Edey shoot 22 free throws?
Not in this one. Not in this one, honestly. But he did. He did. I mean,
free throws.
Look at Shane's comment. 9 seconds in the lane. Should have just bought a tent with how he was camping in the paint.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you.
And Purdue couldn't hit the broad side of a barn, man. I mean, Lawyer was missing the shots he was making against Gonzaga Friday night. That other guy, Jackson or Jared, whatever his name is, that's their guard, he was missing them. And so it's like, if they weren't on hitting the threes and the refs call that both ways, I don't even think they get to 60 points or what have you, because their 3-point shooting wasn't doing nothing in that game. It wasn't. So
no, it wasn't doing anything, man. And that's the thing. Like, when I was watching the game, I'm like, we're hitting outside shots. Dalton is on fire. He's playing himself into a lottery position. If there's anybody in the NBA that saw the way Dalton moved without the basketball, if he's not able to help your second unit, think if he goes to a place like, just put out some teams there. If Dalton was able to fall to an Indiana, you know, like the lift he would give them in the East, or if he plays on any second unit in the NBA, you're looking at a bona fide 6th man of the year.
I wonder if Pop would take him. He looks like he could be a Spur. Like, you know how would they have their outside shooting? What if the Spurs take him? Usually they like them foreign guys, you know, they like the Europeans.
If the Spurs get Dalton Connect and he gets to learn under Pop, think about how he was under Rick Barnes. You go to a level of Greg Popovich.
I know. And pair him with Wembayama, Trey Jones. I mean, they got a young core there.
Kentucky.
They got a young core there. I mean, and they got a lottery pick too, don't they? I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs, and so they're going to. I mean, they're not going to probably get the number 1 spot again, but I could easily see him getting the number 8 or 9 pick. You know, the Spurs I'm talking about, and then he falls to them. I mean, why wouldn't you take another 3-point shooter?
Like, see, I would want him to play in a market like San Antonio, Denver. I know he wouldn't fall to Denver. But, man, if Denver picked him up off their bench, like, he gives you everything that you lost in Brown, that, you know, your guy from Miami.
He'd fill in nicely there as that 3-point. Yeah. I mean, and you want to know something too, Pair? I wanted to put Shane's comment up there again. NCAA already had the Edey versus UConn set up, and this was the NCAA's payback for the UT lawsuit. I mean, that's definitely something right there. Terry Maples has Connect going to Atlanta at number 10. That's intriguing. Pair him with, Trae Young. So,
Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson's a badass for them, man. He really is. So
I like it, but then are you off of DeAndre Hunter if you bring in Dalton Connect?
Yeah. Well, and so I want to. There's a couple things I want to talk about too, and so forth. We mentioned last show. If Tennessee doesn't make the Final Four, is this a disappointing year? Okay. And so I've had time to think about it. And everybody is entitled to their opinion. And Two Pair, I want you to give me your thoughts on it. I'm going to go first with this.
Okay.
This is a successful year for Tennessee, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. They won the SEC regular season.
That's
Okay.
one.
They had multiple huge wins over programs that normally in years they've not beaten. Going to Kentucky and just absolutely throttling them. Going to Alabama, who, let me tell you this, I've got UConn going back to back, and I'm not going to change now. But if there's a team that's athletic enough to match them, and let me tell you something, I don't like Nate Oates. Okay, let's not. I mean, I know he said some.
I like Nate Oates. I do like Nate Oates.
I like Nate Oates, the coach, but
coach.
the person is, But you give that guy a week because he's had a whole week to study UConn. I'm just going to say, I am going to have that game right here while I'm watching WrestleMania on Saturday. I mean, I was going to have that plan anyway if Tennessee had made it, but it is what it is. But going back to Tennessee, you had a bona fide player of the year, not just SEC, but could be the national player of the year. Rick won coach, or Rick did win coach. That was the South Carolina guy for his turnaround. But Zakai got defensive player of the year. So you had multiple guys first team player of the year. This is a hard tournament to win, guys. This is a hard tournament to win. And you do need Lady Luck to come on your side. But here's the thing. Tennessee had to play chalk the entire way of the tournament, okay? They had to take on the 15, which is what the 2 gets. They took on a 7 team in Texas. They took on a 3 seed in Creighton that was a very good team, okay? And then they took on a number 1 team who's been number 1 for most of the year and went toe-to-toe with them despite the officials doing what they were doing. And I'll tell you this. Final Four is nice. It's amazing. It would be program breaking, but there is nothing wrong with the Elite 8. Ask Kentucky if they would have loved to have been in the Elite 8. Ask North Carolina if they would have loved to have been in the Elite 8. Ask Arizona, who could be at home this weekend and choked tremendously against Clemson. Just choked tremendously.
Choke job.
I have never seen. I'm going to tell you this, man. Caleb Love. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you can rewatch you hitting the big shot that knocked out Krzyzewski and Duke, but you have done nothing since then. Was a no-show in the championship against Kansas.
Let me add to that. So I don't know the whole reason why he left left North Carolina, Arizona, but I think it had to do situational with somebody's girlfriend and you had one on the team. So I'm like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But hearsay. For me, the disappointments are Mississippi State.
Horrible.
Total disappointment. South Carolina. Total disappointment. I will say this. Florida was in the game with Colorado. That's just a bounce of the ball.
I'm going to tell you this, man. Florida, I'm being honest with you. Florida don't lose their big man. I think not only do they beat Colorado, I think they beat Marquette because look what DJ Burns and Diarra did to them. And then they had an off shooting night. If the 3-pointers weren't falling for Marquette, they weren't going to go far. So I credit to Florida that they were even in that game and fought to the end and lost on a last second shot, So yeah.
My thoughts. Tennessee had an incredible, successful year. You had for one season a guy that is considered the best player in the entire country. I ain't gonna lie, watching this dude, I seen some good ones at UT. In my time as announcer and my time of watching basketball, he made my Mount Rushmore in 1 year.
Yeah.
And I was like, Chris Lofton's on my Mount Rushmore.
Mm-hmm.
Houston's on my Mount Rushmore. Bernard King is on my Mount Rushmore.
Mm-hmm.
Dale Ellis was on my Mount Rushmore.
But you
And
bumped them. But you bumped them.
I hate, and this is Dale Ellis.
Mm-hmm.
This is Dale Ellis. So as for right now, I ain't doing no Mount Rushmore. I'm saying the top guys ever to play at the University of Tennessee. Just me. I'm going Ron Slay. I'm going
Oh
Chris.
yeah.
I'm going. I'm going Grant Williams. I'm going. People don't forget. People forget how good Steve Hamer was on bad Tennessee teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Bad C.J. Watson is in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like they have a plethora of guys.
Mm-hmm. You know who I liked, by the way, that was, I thought, very good on the Elite Eight squad, the other Elite Eight squad, because now you've got two Elite Eight teams for Tennessee as far as they went. JP Prince. I liked JP Prince a lot.
JP
Rocky
Prince.
Top League, too.
I'm gonna say like my unsung guys, like people that don't really give credit. Go back and look at Cam Tatum.
Yeah. People
When
forget about Cam Tatum. Yeah.
yeah, how good Cam Tatum was, like, and had a very, very, very successful overseas career. I don't think people realize how good he was just in looking up what he had to go up against as far as um, playing in the SEC and having to, get those minutes from a plethora go like Jordan McRae,
Mm-hmm.
Scotty Hobson,
And those guys were great,
Josh
too.
Hack,
I mean, yeah.
like and running the point. You had B Mays or Ramar Smith, like the era of Tennessee basketball, far as them being competitive. It started in the Bruce Pearl era, like, or no,
Mm.
I'm sorry, Jerry Green.
Jerry Green. Yeah, I was going to say Jerry Green. So,
Forget
yeah.
how those Jerry Green teams were with Ron Slay. You know what I'm
Vincent Yarborough,
saying?
C.J. Black.
Harris, Isaiah Victor,
Charles Hathaway was good too. I liked him. I mean, he was a big guy in the middle. So
Charles
yeah,
Hathaway, Ray Harris,
yeah, yeah.
Aaron Green, who's coaching over at Oak
Oak
Ridge.
Ridge. Yep. I mean, so they were. I mean, it's they've been in the conversation. I mean, we don't talk about the Buzz Peterson years, no offense or whatever, because I just could not believe how bad that was. But look what Pearl did with those guys and did something. You know, Dane Bradshaw and Jordan Howell. I mean, those guys screech. So.
Stanley Asumnu.
Stanley Asumnu. So yeah, who, by the way, a lot of people don't know this. Once upon a time, was dating Candace Parker. He
Low
was
key.
low key. Yes,
Low key.
yes,
Very
yeah,
low key.
yeah.
I was dating her. I was like, wow, he's dating Candace Parker. I'm like,
Uh,
oh, you all you gotta do is
yeah.
just right. But no, like
Terry Maples brought up Big Baby Brian Williams. I mean, he was a force inside there. So yeah.
maybe Brian Williams, funny story. So it's crazy he said Big Baby Brian Williams. Brian Williams, I don't know if he's joking or not, but he's coming out with a book. He said he's gonna come out about a book about his life and times at the University of Tennessee.
Is he really?
I said, yo, this book is gonna be crazy. Like, no, I got shout out to him. It's funny. He said Big Baby Brian Williams because he actually came in with Cam Tatum in that class, Bruce Pearl's first class, I want to say. And I've been talking to those guys recently on a Clubhouse on 94 Feet podcast, dope show. You gotta get big shout out to Skinny, Pops, all of them, man. Like, yeah, Cam Tatum, one of my favorite all-time UT players, and I got to put C.J. Watson up in there too.
Oh yeah, yeah. C.J. Watson for
Chris
sure.
Lofton's the greatest shooter I think I've. Chris Lofton and Allen Houston are probably the two best shooters, but live and in person, It's tough if you go through a whole montage of Allen Houston, Chris Lofton, and Dalton Connect. Who's the best? Like, who makes the more tougher shots in the offenses? They're very different styles of offenses that those guys they're playing in.
I might say something that is a little unpopular, but at least Allen Houston did have Steve Hamer for a couple of years inside. I mean, if Jonas would have done his job, that would have helped Dalton tremendously the other night.
Jonas needs to give you 10.
Yeah. I mean, Lofton at least had some dudes around him, I mean, he did. So like JP, Tyler Smith was on there, and so forth. I mean, there were, I don't know. I mean, there were just, it just, I think with what we going into this year, Dalton Connect shows what you can do with a player that maybe got overlooked and just shot lights out. I wanted to talk some women's basketball tonight too because of that LSU Iowa game the other night. Can I ask you something too, Pair?
Yeah, women's basketball. Yeah.
Caitlin Clark, love her, hate her. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not from Iowa. I'm not a Hawkeye, none of that stuff. But let me just tell you this. I will give props to somebody that can shoot the lights out. Her form, she was shooting all over the place. And even the LSU players were throwing their hands up like, what can we do? They had a hand in her face. She's shooting between half court and the 3-point line, and it doesn't even hit the rim. She could show some of the guys how to shoot of who was so disappointing in this tournament shooting-wise, whether they were on Tennessee or not. I mean, I couldn't believe some of the clanks that were done in the Elite Eight and Sweet 16 from teams that normally make those three-pointers. And I'm going to tell you this, man. Talking about UConn real quick on the men's side, I've never seen a team go on a 30-0 run. 30-0 run.
UConn is the best. Let me say this.
They're dirty. They're dirty good.
They got the best coach in the country.
They do. Hands down.
Here's the crazy thing. His dad, Bob Hurley Sr., one of the greatest high school coaches of all time.
In New Jersey, yep, and in the country, yep.
Danny Hurley is maybe a hot take. He's gonna probably go down as one of the greatest college coaches of all time. If he goes back to back, with him losing 75% of his scoring to get NBA level talent at UConn. That's what he said. He says we get NBA level talent here.
The other thing too, I'm going to tell you a couple things about Danny Hurley. The minute that Connecticut hired him, I said to somebody, Connecticut's going to be winning national championships in a couple of years. It's happening. Okay, now the thing is this run is more dominant than the one last year was, in my opinion. And what's crazy is, do you think an NBA team throws that cash at him? Because that's the only thing that I think could change Connecticut better ante up is what I'm going to say.
They did it to Billy Donovan.
Yep. I mean, there's only been 3 coaches in the modern era. Yeah, there's only been 3 coaches or two coaches to go back to back since the Wizard of Westwood did it. Krzyzewski at Duke, 91-92. Donovan with the Gators, 06-07. Hurley can be right on that plethora.
And then for women, you probably would say Gino Auriemma.
Pat did a three-peat twice. Did Mulkey go back to back with Baylor and Griner, or did they only win one back in the day?
They only got one.
Stanford, I think, has only won one. They've never won like back to back.
Stanford's got I think Stanford's got 3 total.
3 total, but they never went back to back. So realistically, Connecticut and Tennessee ladies have only gone back to back or three-peated or consecutive for whatever weird run Connecticut was on, which was just unbelievable. The comment box is hopping tonight. I just want to go through these. Shout out to Larry Frank. I know he's hurting. His Tar Heels got knocked out by Bama and so forth, which I would have lost money on that one. I think I did lose money on that because of R.J. Davis deciding to shoot as bad as Caleb Love did that night. I mean, oh my God, I don't know what happened there. Shout out to Terry Maples and both Shane McGee. Terry had a great point. Auburn was a really big disappointment for the SEC. Hell yeah, they were. Kentucky should have been ashamed of themselves. Absolutely, they should have been. Of course, Larry went a little bit more personal. Screw Bama. Lost to starters who were brothers, cousins, and inbreeding. That Alabama guy with the mustache, I mean, oh my God, he can shoot though. I mean, he really brought it. So yeah. Tyler Smith was a damn beast. Thank you. Has been saying that for years now. Let's see here. But remember, Edie was overlooked. Laugh out loud. Yeah, that's true. Larry Frank, Caitlin is the female Steph Curry. Same damn game. Yep. Let's see here. Larry says Iowa actually won because of those other two girls scored 15 and 13, plus LSU missed a bunch of easy shots in the paint, along with 6 missed free throws. Wow. LSU out-rebounded Iowa 56-38. That's true. And I'll tell you this, LSU punched Iowa back in that first quarter. That was a fun game to watch, and it was back and forth, but man, Caitlin Clark in that third quarter just took over. So let's see here. Michael Lynn writes, Edie had to have been overlooked. If anyone looked too hard, it would have been a foul. Good one, Michael Lynn. Shout out to my boy there. Tennessee needs to land Cade Tyson in the transfer portal from Belmont. Shot 46.9% from deep this year. Yeah, I'd take him. And if they're looking for somebody else, that Florida Atlantic point guard entered the transfer portal. He shot 41%, averaged 18 a game. So he's looking for somewhere.
He's probably going to go to Michigan.
You think so? You think he's going to go there? Oh, because of they hired that coach to replace Juwan. Okay.
I can't believe Juwan Howard got fired, man. After the team wins the national title and then Michigan has the worst season they have, it's like, dude, you look at Hunter Dickinson. What do you think's going to happen?
Do you think, too, Pair, that had something to do truthfully with maybe the repercussions of the incident with that other coach that happened a couple of years ago and he got suspended or something? Yeah. Oh, so real quick, one more thing. So I think that the consensus of anybody participating in this would say that Tennessee did have a successful season. You know, I mean, they were a horrible officiating away from playing NC State at 6:00 on Saturday, Final Four. You know, and I think Terry mentioned it too. That would have been kind of a storybook thing that DJ Burns was here at Tennessee for a minute and then he'd be playing them again and so forth. But, you know, you talk about conspiracies. Pair, feel me on this. Virginia was the first number 1 seed to lose to a 16, then comes back the next year and somehow improbably wins the tournament. Is this going to happen again with Purdue? They lost to a 16 last year and came back the next year to win the whole thing. Because some people even talk Virginia got some calls in that tournament that they should have been bounced or what have you.
I mean, I really want to see, to me, I want to see Purdue and UConn. Because I know for certain UConn is not losing to Purdue. I love to see that. DJ Burns, you know whose fault this is?
Who's this?
It's got to be Virginia's fault.
Yeah.
Virginia, you take care of business. Hold on, was it NC State? Did NC State beat Virginia?
Yeah, Virginia missed the free throw. Yeah, you keep talking. You know what you're talking about.
So NC State gets on this improbable run like it's 1983.
Yeah.
And has all these articles of everybody remembering when they threw on their Thurl Bailey jersey, when they saw Lorenzo Charles just magically take a oop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is wild.
I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from them. They are as hot as could be. And realistically, I don't know how that's going to go down with Burns and Edie inside or what have you, because Edie definitely has the, excuse me, the height advantage, obviously. And they list Edie as 300 pounds, but Burns is every bit of 300 plus pounds, but he moves like a defensive end. I mean, the way out
Man,
there. Big
like
guys don't supposed to move like that,
no,
honestly.
and he would be. That's what I'm saying. If he doesn't play basketball,
Mhm.
he a fine D tackle, D end, left tackle, right tackle. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because in most March Madnesses, you can remember a football player playing basketball, right? Like the first time you saw Antonio Gates at Kent State. You know what I mean? Tony Gonzalez at California, Jimmy
Jimmy
Graham,
Graham at Miami. Yeah. So, yeah.
Julius Peppers at North Carolina.
A lot of people forget that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Like, I think Julius Peppers is the only one to play in the NCAA tournament and a Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah, he played in the Final Four in 2000 or what have you. So, yep, with Ed Cota and all those guys. So, yeah.
Yeah, Final Four in the Super Bowl, I think it is.
Yep. Yep. So, I
That's
mean,
why.
I just here's the thing. I think last week I said that I would be very shocked if any of these Sweet 16 games were not entertaining. And realistically, the one that just was just a complete I just didn't understand what happened there. Was well, we should have known. I mean, we knew San Diego State wasn't going to match up with UConn or what have you.
Oh,
Um, but realistically, I was shocked of how well Illinois did against Iowa State, and I thought that Illinois could give Connecticut a game.
I liked Illinois though. I said I
Yeah.
liked.
They just, but 30-0, two pair. I mean, this Connecticut team. I mean, so let me ask you this:
I
even
like Iowa State too. I like
yeah,
Iowa State after the Big 12 tournament. I liked Iowa State after the tournament. They looked really good, but
yeah. So Terry goes, Burns refused to get into shape and stick to Barnes's meal plan there. So yeah, I mean, yeah. NFL GMs want Burns to play offensive tackle. He's 6'9", 275. So I mean, it's like Bryant McKinney. You know, Bryant McKinney was like 6'9", 6'10", 330 pounds, though, when he
and
played in Miami and the Ravens. So.
I don't remember Bryant McKinney giving up any sacks in
He
college.
never did. No, not in Miami. He didn't. Maybe with the Ravens or something, but no, never with Miami. He didn't. So, um, let me ask you this too, Pear. You got these four teams. Um, I think it's going to be Connecticut and Purdue. I didn't get into an argument, but a guy that I really think very highly of basketball. He thinks that the refs are going to play a part in helping Purdue beat Connecticut. Well, I'm going to just say this much. I don't think I think Connecticut could overcome it, unlike Tennessee, because I very highly doubt seeing Connecticut struggle from the field or people like Jonas Adu not show up. Klingman is a beast inside, and
Clean
he's 7'2".
is
He's 7'2", and he's way more athletic than Edie. So I think that Edie would be the one that would have foul trouble with Klingman. So yeah,
let me say this. Shout out to Toby Walker. He took the challenge.
he did. He did.
But Toby Walker is 6'8".
Mm-hmm.
He took the challenge. He made it hard. He made it difficult. It wasn't easy. And also, I got to give it up to JP Australia.
Oh my God, dude, he was great off the bench. We had to go with him because he at least gave you way more than what's his name that was a no-show. Adu was a no-show.
Adu, like, what happened? Is like, did Jonas Adu like leave his? Did he leave like his game back in Knoxville? Like, I don't know. Like,
He missed the bus to Detroit. He missed the plane to Detroit because the guy that you got that stepped up in that first weekend didn't even show up in the second weekend. And you know what? Here's the other thing too. They said Santiago was battling flu-like symptoms or whatever. So if something was going around with the team, that sucks. I mean, that you couldn't have picked a worse time for that to happen. I mean, and I've learned of other teams having that issue before. And here's the other thing too: you don't even know if it was really COVID or if it was a sinus infection. You don't even know these things because they all kind of run together. And I mean, it's just bad luck. I mean, and like I said, you gotta bring it every game. You gotta shoot great, and you gotta have some officiating on your side, which it looks like Purdue. Oh, we feel sorry for you that you lost to a 16, so let's get you a wheelchair to the Final Four. Not that you needed it. I mean, so
Yeah, you know
yeah.
what I mean, like stuff like that. And also, I really want to say like Triple J was big. Triple J, he shot well from the field. I mean, he gave you everything he had. Vescovy just was a non-factor. Like, just Meshack played very well.
Maybe I thought Josiah played good. I mean, I remember I've been one of his biggest critics. I mean, he did show up in this tournament. I felt Josiah did. So Meshack was huge off the bench.
Meshack is huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Terry Maples with the. Oh, I want to go back to Larry and Michael's comments real quick. Terry put Tennessee needs a real center. Allow Awaka to play power forward where he belongs. Absolutely. I mean, let me just tell you this: for as much as the NBA talks about that, those old 7-footers wouldn't fit in today's game. In college, you still need a guy in the middle. And look no further than 3 of the 4 teams have 3 post players that dictated the games. You don't have to like the foul calls. 7-4 is 7-4, and he's doing it. I mean, Burns at 6'9" is a monster inside. I mean, just completely owning teams. And then Klingon is doing his deal. So you need that. You definitely need a big man in the middle. You definitely need a point guard to run the show, and you need wings that shoot the lights out of it. And if you have 3 or 4 guys you can bring off the bench, and I'm talking about they just are not foul collectors, but they're guys that actually can contribute. I mean, you've got a damn good possibility of winning this thing. And then you have to stay injury free, too, Pair. Sickness, injuries. It's a physical game, and people land wrong, and it could be detrimental to the whole team. It's a tough sport. It is a tough sport. It really is. Let me see here real quick. So Michael Lynn wants to know how fast does he foul out? Talking, I guess, about DJ Burns. Correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, about that. So I'm going to tell you this. Keep an eye on this hot take. Diarra, the other big man for NC State, is a very hardcore Muslim. And they're still in the middle of Ramadan. And until Tuesday. I had made mention that he would be an absolute non-factor against Duke on Sunday because that game was played at 5 o'clock. Sundown is not till 8 o'clock, and he couldn't have water or crackers. He had 2 points that entire game. Why is that significant? Luckily, the 2 DJs stepped up for NC State and bounced Duke. But the 6 o'clock game with NC State, Diarra can't have the crackers in the water until 8 o'clock. The game starts at 6. You're talking maybe 5 minutes left in the game when he can finally get hydrated. So if realistically Burns does get into foul trouble, Diarra was in foul trouble against Duke. I don't know if Ben Middlebrooks can handle Edey inside, and is Middlebrooks going to get any calls for him and so forth with his defense. And because of that, I have to go with Purdue in that game against NC State. But here's the thing. I've picked against NC State almost all tournament long and so forth. And so at this point, I'm like, you know what? Finish your story. Finish your damn story. I won't jinx you. I'm going to go with Purdue so you can beat Purdue and see if you can knock off Connecticut at this point. I mean, you've knocked off everybody else. Duke twice, Virginia, North Carolina, Oakland, who couldn't miss against Kentucky, Texas Tech, who was a decent Big 12 school, and you knocked off Marquette, who was the second team in the Big East or whatever. So why not them? Why not NC State?
You know what? NC State is going to win this game.
They probably are. So, I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah. Larry Frank wanted to ask, guys, what are your thoughts on Caitlin's oversized Adam's apple? Did you all see the pic? So if anybody's not seen it, apparently there's a picture going around where Caitlin was smiling or something, and it looks like she has an Adam's apple. And I guess women do have an Adam's apple, but it's not as defined as a man's, or I don't know. I'm not a doctor, guys. I'm not. But if anybody's got thoughts about that or whatever, I think she's a girl. She's just, I don't know. I don't know, guys. This ain't no Joanna Man thing, but I think it was brought up, so I had to put it out there. So yeah, but I love Larry Frank. I love me some Larry Frank.
Watching, I'm not gonna lie. The women's Elite Eight was better than the men's Elite.
It really was, dude. It really was.
The women had the star power.
They did. They did. I mean, the fact that you had Juju against Paige the other night, and oh man. So I'm gonna tell you this. Somebody was talking about that Tennessee might be throwing some money towards the USC women's coach, maybe to be their new next coach. That'd be a hell of a hire. So
you know what? Who I like for the cash. For the cash, I got two.
Okay.
I got two. Kara Lawson at Duke.
Yep.
Hold on. And Molly Miller from Grand Canyon.
Wow. Okay. What do you think? Do you think that they would hire Molly if they can't get Kara or the USC coach?
Yeah.
Wouldn't have to pay as much.
Yeah. And like my problem with USC this year was Mackenzie Forbes is the X factor, but you can't do everything Juju does. Juju can take those shots. Like Mackenzie Forbes shot a lot of balls. Like pause. Like she did. She shot. If she catches that rock, she was shooting it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Connecticut was damn lucky to win that game the other night. Honestly, I really thought USC was going to beat them. I was wrong in that regard. I mean, let me ask you this: the UConn-Iowa game, is UConn going to spoil the dream for Caitlin, or what do you think at this point? Because it's Gino. It's always Gino. So yeah, and he hadn't won one in a while.
Gino got something prepared for her. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever does he have prepared for? Because we've seen her excel against like the Giants, like to beat a South Carolina team that was undefeated to get to a championship game last year. She got to get one. If you don't get a national title, just a lot of accolades. Like, if she don't get one in college,
she's just like that girl from Minnesota that had the scoring record for a while there. Remember her from 2003? I forget her name. She was from Minnesota. She played for the Gophers, and they had a special little run, but they didn't win nothing. They got to the Final Four and lost to Connecticut, got destroyed by Sue Bird and Taurasi and all them.
You talking about Lindsay Whalen?
Lindsay Whalen, you remember. Yeah, Lindsay Whalen. So, yeah.
Hey, she was not bad, though.
No, I'm just saying, though, that's all Caitlin Clark will be is the next Lindsay Whalen. You didn't win a title. You just had the most points in history or whatever like that, I mean, but that championship, man, these are what make you immortal. Honestly, they do. I mean, that's what
I'm just saying though, if she doesn't win, what if Paige? I just got some scenarios.
Sure.
What if UConn sees South Carolina and Paige beats South Carolina as an undefeated team? Like, there's so many different storylines we can have.
Here's the thing, and it took her 2 years to get back from that horrific ACL injury. I mean, you remember she had to redshirt, she had to sit out and so forth, and had multiple surgeries. And for her to be playing at the level that she is, not many people get back to that level in any sport. So, Shane brings up something that has been a topic amongst Lady Vol fans for years. Okay. And here's the thing. I There's one other school that I look at, like the Lady Vols in men's, and it's the North Carolina Tar Heels, where they've always kept it in the family with Dean's stable of coaches. Now, Bill Guthridge got to the Final Four, with Antoine Jameson and Vince Carter. Got there twice. A lot of people forget that. Got there with Ed Cota and Brendan Haywood, and so yeah, got to two Final Fours. Retired. They bring in Matt Doherty. Matt Doherty had an okay year that first year, but truth be told, um, the bottom fell out of it. Now he brought in some great recruits. Roy took it over, and now Hubert has done a pretty decent job. I think. I know some fans are probably criticizing him and that Alabama game, but shit happens in this tournament, guys. I mean, Hubert got to a Final Four in pretty much his first year as a head coach. I mean, and was one half away from winning the national title in his first year. Last year was a disaster because of what we talked about. And so the reason I'm bringing that up, though, of how I parallel it to Tennessee, at least with the exception of Doherty, the coaches that they have kept in the family at North Carolina have been successful. Mm-hmm. And of course, to follow the great Pat Summitt, I don't think Holly she was an assistant. She was a good assistant coach. And there's a big transition from being the assistant to the head person. Kelly Jolly had been a coach at other places and had just done so-so. But I was hoping that maybe she needed to bring the energy that maybe Holly was missing, the disconnect with the players. The reason I'm going to really address Shane's question is, and I've seen Larry mention Candace Parker, Kara Lawson, like you mentioned. Here's the thing. I would be okay with giving it to one of them if you want to stay in the family one more time. But I was just a few weeks ago saying that I would like to see somebody from outside the family to bring in something like the Ohio State coach. You just mentioned Molly over at Grand Canyon. I'm just saying some fresh blood might be what this program is needed. Mm-hmm. And the other thing too, with the amount of NIL and hardcore Lady Vol fans that there are, I'm really shocked too, Pair, that we're not getting the recruits that we used to that are going to the South Carolinas and the Connecticut's and places like that and so forth, honestly. So Shane, to answer your question, bud, because it is a great one, I don't think that you can ignore the UT family, but I want the best candidate that has a plan, that you're at least in the Sweet 16 consistently every year and into a Final Four. So, I mean, what do you think too, Pair? I know that we're getting close to the 1 hour mark. We got about 12 minutes left on the show. So, but yeah.
Yeah, like my thing is Kara Lawson makes the best choice if you had to stay within the family. I was a big fan of Nikki Fargas, who I feel like she never really got the chance. But I like Molly Miller, man. I really like Molly Miller out of Grand Canyon. And it's hard to replace that. That shadow is huge to cast over this program. Mm-hmm. Like, Summit took it to the summit a bunch of times. Yeah. A lot.
Yeah.
She ain't walking through that door no more, boss.
No, she's not. And here's the other thing, too. Not only did they win, they won the right way, and they killed teams. I mean, it was either them or Connecticut every year, man. It really was. So, who signed the top player? Was it Maya Moore? Was it Candace Parker? Was it Diana Taurasi, Tamika Catchy, Shamiqua Holtzclaw? I mean, Rebecca Lobo. I mean, goodness gracious. So, I mean, I'm just saying, I agree with Terry. It has to have a big name. Larry thinks Candace would be the next coach at UT. Is she done playing? Is she done? Like, I
I
mean,
don't think
what's
she's done playing though. I think because Candace didn't want to go out the way she didn't want to go out with an injury because she didn't even
yeah.
play the last half of the season.
She didn't. She didn't. So, but she did get a ring. She did. She did get a ring a couple of years ago. So, yeah.
But yeah, well, she got the ring in Chicago.
In Chicago, that's right. That's right.
And then I felt like with her being hurt, that would kind of, but I don't think she wants to go out that way. I think she'll play maybe. Candace may have 2 good years left, like, but not the level of what it once was.
That window's starting to
Yeah.
Well, and talk about Kara Lawson. I love me some Kara Lawson, and what she's done with Duke women's basketball is incredible. I mean, they had UConn on their heels in that game, and they would not die. So that's the one thing that I think was missing from this year's Lady Vols team. Man, if things went bad, they rolled over. I mean, they did come back a couple of times, but I think Kara Lawson would have the girls fighting for 40 minutes. Now, can she bring in the big recruits? The other thing too is I've respected her analysis from that ESPN position. She's obviously shows she can coach at Duke. Duke threw the money at her to get her there. And the pressure at Duke in women's basketball is not like Lady Vols. So, they're content with the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight and maybe an ACC tournament championship here and there and so forth. That's their expectations. Lady Vols, you got to do the big 3 every year pretty much. SEC regular season, SEC tournament, and we're talking the Final Four cutting down the nets type of thing at the Lady Vols. That was the standard by the great Pat Summitt. So,
but if you do look at Duke women's basketball as a rich tradition, it would have to be like the likes of Atlanta Beard.
Yeah.
It was really rolling.
Yeah, with Coach G, with Coach Gueston, of course. So, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And funny enough, Mickey DeMoss was coaching there under with Coach G for a bit there before she came back to the Lady Vols. So that's a name that I don't think it would be like another Holly Warwick thing that wouldn't make it Mickey DeMoss. But Mickey DeMoss was a great assistant coach and a great recruiter and so forth. And I would almost wish that they would have her involved as like almost an emeritus type status, because she was like Pat's right-hand woman. And was instrumental when they did go back-to-back with Candace in 07 and 08.
Here's a name. What about Dean Lockwood?
Where's that guy at? Like, he just kind of disappeared after Holly got dismissed and so forth. I don't know what he's doing, but he brought another toughness and recruiting to that staff there for the 07, 08, and even those last few years of Pat. So yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, the thing is this, with the Lady Vols, they had to make the change. They do not need to mess this up. But here's the thing. I have confidence in Danny White as the athletic director. I really do. I really do. Right. So yeah. Real quick, we'll make this quick. UConn, Alabama, NC State, Purdue, go. Anybody in the chat can also mention that too. So
I got UConn win this whole thing. And
I said it, the back-to-back, the year of the back-to-back that the West Rebels started. I'm saying it. So yeah.
I would be very disappointed if Purdue wins the national title, because I feel like Tennessee is better than Purdue.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know what? If UConn doesn't win it, I want NC State to win the national title.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. At this, finish your little story. Finish your story that's 41 years in the making, and then what? They wait another 41 years before the next one or something like that. I mean, that's what it seems like. So, I mean,
but think about this. How similar are the storylines lining up to where you remember at the time Houston was killing everybody on their bracket?
Yeah.
NC State is winning. They meet.
Yeah, it's
UConn.
And it's not Hakeem Olajuwon, it's Klingman over at Connecticut. That's the big man. And Houston had a good coach too. Not quite Hurley. Hurley at least won it. Houston always was the bridesmaid.
Right.
I've got something for you that would be very interesting. And Larry Frank can chime in on this. I hope he's still on here, being a big North Carolina fan. Chapel Hill will not take that sitting down lightly if NC State wins that title this year. They will not. Look at Ohio State of how much NIL money they have spent to get players and coaches on that staff. Chip Kelly went from a head coach to an OC at Ohio State when Michigan won the national title. And Ohio State said to Ryan Day, here's everything you need. We need to get it back. And if NC State wins that title, don't think North Carolina is going to take that sitting down with NIL money and get the best of the best transfers and convince RJ Davis to come back for one more year, because he does have 1 year of eligibility left because of the COVID year. So I'm just saying, they will not take that sitting down lightly. I see some contrast there of the rivalries between like those schools and so forth like that. So that's just it. So yeah. Oh, okay, real quick. Thank you so much, Larry. NC State taking a page from Cody Rhodes. UConn is the final boss or whatever like that. Do we got WrestleMania picks this weekend? I still think my tribal chief will still be champion walking out Sunday. I mean that. If he does, I will cry so hard, honestly, because I am a Roman Reigns mark. I am. I mean, look at my banner. Look at my banner. 488 days and counting.
Hold on. This would be some drama though. This would be some drama because Paul Heyman's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And if Roman Reigns loses, I don't think they would write it. I don't think Vince would write that.
Yeah, I don't think so. No, not at all. No, not at all. Larry put here, Carolina would rather see Duke win it because at least they got the bloodline to do it. North Carolina State has given me Space Jam Monsters vibes. I'm telling you, Larry, it's true, man. Raleigh is like little brother, and they're not supposed to beat Duke and North Carolina, and they've done it on the biggest of stages. And if you look at the regular season games, Carolina and Duke mopped the floor with them in those regular season games. But it don't matter. It's hard to beat a team, 3 times or twice and so forth. So acknowledge your tribal chief, Larry says. Well, I'm going to tell you this. I've got UConn against Purdue because that's what I had in my bracket. And I had UConn ultimately cutting down the nets, but I would not be sad to see NC State win the whole thing. I just wouldn't, just because it's like whatever.
NC State wins this whole thing, I'm gonna crack up.
Oh my! We'll talk about it next Wednesday.
I pray to God that they win this whole thing.
You know what? It would be the cherry on the top, an 11 seed winning the national championship on a unbelievable winning streak. You talked about it. Virginia was 1 free throw away. Kevin Keats isn't even their coach anymore. And they'll give him whatever he wants if he brings home a title. I mean, goodness gracious, he's already brought them home an ACC title. So
if that think about this. If he wins he wins the ACC championship. Stallion, if he wins the freaking national championship, you understand the ramifications. And think about this. The whole Jimmy V thing. And he's the next guy that wins it there.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Dude.
I know.
I think that'd be full circle. Like
it really would be full circle. It really would. So, the other thing too that I wanted to get to real quick because I know you got to get going and we're short on time because it is Rebels with a Cause. A couple of things that I wanted to mention. Rebels baseball team. They actually lost a couple of heartbreakers this week. They have a chance to redeem themselves against Heritage and a couple of local teams in Coalfield, as well as Clay County, Kentucky, at a tournament in CAK. but unfortunately they lost to the Bulldogs on Monday 5-1. We're hoping to do that show with that they honor the 94 district tournament championship team in a couple of weeks. So that'll be a chance for West to even that against Bearden. They lost tonight to William Blunt 7-2, but they did beat Carnes the other night 6-1. So that was good that they at least got on the win column last week. As far as soccer goes, soccer lost a heartbreaker on Saturday to Farragut 2-1, but they did rebound very well on senior night Monday night, and were very impressive over Gatlinburg Pittman with a 4-2 victory on senior night. So good for the soccer team as they and they've got Bearden coming up, and I'm hoping to be at that game to see how the boys do in that one and so forth. The other thing, real quick, West football. So it's coming up. Got to go for that three-peat. If this is the year of back-to-back, we got to go for the three-peat. I'm happy to report that spring football will be Monday, April 22nd until May the 9th. And the spring football will culminate on Friday, May the 10th in a scrimmage at Gibbs at 6:30. And I'm sure that we'll have way more about that going forward. But, I just wanted to do that and acknowledge the Rebels with the cause and in them for their seasons and everything coming up. Real quick, Terry Maples, I'll be here when you all see Purdue can't be beat when you can't touch Edie. Hot take right there. That's probably true.
Probably true.
Larry Frank, the Tar Heel fan, I can't take an NC State natty. I know. I'd rather serve appetizers at a P. Diddy party. That's a hardcore Tar Heel right there, man.
Comment of the night.
That is the great Larry Frank, and a shout out to him and Devin and their show You Talk that airs on Friday nights. Also, they do a Monday night show talking Miami football. They're the ones that gave me the idea for us to do this show, so I always love my big brother Larry Frank Jr. So shout out to him with that comment. And, well, Larry, I will say this: you did say that P. Diddy would be in jail by this weekend. Is he even in jail yet? I mean, I don't. Can they find him? Where's he at? I've not been paying attention to that stuff. I mean, but shoot. So yeah, but listen, I know we went just a tad over. Two Pair, you got to get to the Brickyard. So let's close this out. We're gonna do this W real quick because it's all about them Rebels with a cause. But shout us out, end us out, and love you, brother, as always. Next week, WrestleMania this weekend, Final Four. Enjoy, guys. So.
I know what it is. Love, peace, chicken grease. Hey, man, it's Rebels with a cause, but don't step on them shoes. We out of here.
We out.